In March 2025, we visited Disneyland Paris. We decided to use the train to go over from London St Pancras to the Disneyland station. Booking online was relatively easy. You can only book your wheelchair position and one carer in one booking, and anything else you have to do separately, or you can call them up to do it all as one booking. There are currently no direct routes, so you will need to make a change at some point. We changed at Lille, and actually the staff in the station said this was the best place to change because you're likely going to end up on the same platform for your second train. Even though I booked a wheelchair space, I did email both Eurostar and the French train company in advance, and it was all sorted. The French company said they didn't need anything as Eurostar had sorted it for me. In London, we had this long ramp put out, which was really easy just to roll straight onto the train. And then in Lille and at Disneyland, they had the type of platform lift where you roll onto it and then they slowly bring you down to the platform. You are in the premier area of the train, so you get served a light meal. There's also plenty of space and you're right next to the accessible toilet. It wasn't long until we were changing over at Lille. A member of staff was waiting on the platform to greet us. We were all taken off of the train and taken up to the shop area. Our next train was announced and it was back on the same platform, so we took ourselves back down there, but staff said they could come and take us down there too. When the train pulled in, a member of staff did come and meet us with the lift. The train journey on the way back was a little bit more stressful due to delays, but overall really recommend travelling on the Eurostar. We were staying on site at the Disney Sequoia Lodge. We only booked the month before our trip, so we didn't book an accessible room, but that was okay for me. The room was nice enough and it was just a short walk to the parks. However, to get from the walking path to the reception area, you had to go in this lift, which at the end of the night was very busy with buggies. It was also quite tight, so I think if you have a larger wheelchair, you may be better off walking around the perimeter of the hotel up the ramp to the main lobby. The Disney Village was a nice walk from the hotel and between the hotels and the parks. There was a lot of construction going on whilst we were there, so the floor was uneven in places and the path got quite narrow with lots of people going through. Quite a bit of this construction has already been completed and more will be done relatively soon. Before travelling, you will need to fill out a short questionnaire for the priority card. This is easy enough to complete on the Disneyland Paris website. They'll give you a confirmation number and then you can pick up the actual physical card from your hotel reception or at guest services. The card has a letter and a colour associated with it, so you don't get asked the same questions over and over again each time you go to a ride. On some of the rides, the only thing they would ask was whether I would like to transfer from my wheelchair or remain in it. Across the two parks, there were only two rides that I wasn't allowed to ride, and that was Peter Pan and Crush's Coaster because both involved stairs. At the park gates, there was also a section that was just for the priority card, so you didn't have to wait in the main queues. But most of the gates were wide enough for wheelchairs, so you didn't have to worry if you didn't end up in that queue. When it came to going on the rides, just speaking to someone at the front, or usually there was signs to show where you needed to go to enter the ride. You didn't need any sort of return time to go into the rides, it was just when they're next available. The process was exactly the same for any character meet and greets, and then for parades there were specific areas you could go into, and also the same for the nighttime fireworks. We decided to view the parade from the It's a Small World area. It was really nice. They had some benches in there, which when you're waiting for the parade, it comes in quite handy. For the fireworks, you were right near the castle to the left-hand side, so there was no one directly in front of you. It took us a little while to find exactly where we needed to go because we were being told different things by different people. I'd say the only problem with this area is there is a walkway in front of you, and there was a medical emergency the night that we went, so we had quite a few people going back and forth. You also don't know in advance whether or not the drones are going to be happening that night, and on this first night it didn't. Once you are in the area, you can't get out, at least not easily, so that's a downside of it. It wasn't as busy in this section as it was in the rest of Main Street, so if you're not a fan of crowds, I would recommend going into this section. I'd say that across the two parks, there's only two things we wouldn't do again. The first is the Storyland canal boats, because it was a much bigger step into the boat than you think it's going to be. And the second thing was the Disneyland Railroad, because I had to get out of my chair and my chair got stalled on the back, which just didn't feel particularly safe. But apart from that, they have greatly improved things at Disneyland Paris compared to the last time we went in 2017. Here are some highlights from the rest of our trip.